Hello, everybody, and welcome to this webinar we're having together here. Apologies for the slight delay. We had some technical difficulties getting up and running, but we now have everything working. So thanks for joining us 5 minutes late. My name is Slater. I am the customer success person for the Australia New Zealand region in particular here at Customer.io. Today we'll be hosting a little talk about Les Mills here in New Zealand, Les Mills Plus in particular, and their use of Customer.io over the years for marketing automation and all of their successes, and Mindy's playbook with her use of Customer.io and Les Mills Plus. We've organized this as a little bit of like a workout themed webinar. If you're familiar with Les Mills, you'll know that they are a workout brand. So we're going to go across 4 different topics around messaging automation, kind of themed around as if we're doing different marketing automation workouts in the gym, if you will. So with that, I would love to turn it over to Mindy. Mindy, can you please introduce Les Mills Plus and yourself a little bit here?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Slater. So Les Mills, hopefully most of you all know the brand by now. It is a global fitness brand, and we're known for our science-backed group workouts. Our mission is to create a fitter planet, helping people fall in love with fitness so they want to work out. And we aim to inspire healthy, sustainable lifestyles through fitness, education, and nutrition. So that's our overall mission for Les Mills. And we have another offering, which is Les Mills Plus. That's the digital fitness platform, and that offers the on-demand workouts to movers worldwide. It's all about bringing the energy of the studio into your home or wherever you choose to move.
Awesome. Thanks, Mindy. And can you tell us more about your role in particular at Les Mills Plus?
Yeah, so my role, I lead the global digital engagement strategy for Les Mills Plus. So making sure that we bring our mission to life. My focus is on about like connecting movers at every stage from when they first join, keep inspiring them long term. And with the help of Customer.io, we make that possible by sending personalized messaging and creating experiences that scale.
Awesome. So to kind of just put a bow on and rephrase what you're saying here, for those who aren't familiar, Les Mills is a much broader brand, brick and mortar gyms, various sort of offerings, and then Les Mills Plus is the digital side of the business, like the workout app. And Mindy, you're the one who manages all the like automated comms and communication, digital comms for that app. Yep. Is that correct? Cool.
Correct.
Great. Awesome. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be jumping into some like workout themed conversations. So let's start with our quote unquote warm up for our MarTech workout here. We'd love to talk about the early days of Les Mills' use of Customer.io and building automations. So what were some of the challenges that Les Mills Plus was facing when you first brought on Customer.io, Mindy?
So I think I need to go back a bit, and that's during like the pandemic, the COVID times. Yeah. And that, although there was less traffic and things like that for gyms and stuff, but what happened was our Les Mills Plus subscriber growth actually hit it off, and it grew by like 900% within that year. So one of our challenges was we had all this data of subscribers, and we were kind of struggling to find a place that could hold it securely. So we actually looked at Customer.io and putting the Les Mills Plus database or subscriber database in Customer.io. But why we did that was because previously we were just batch and blasting, sending one set of comms to everyone. And with Custom.io, we were able to get smarter in that way, that we could self-serve as well, rather than getting engineering or automation teams to support us in the past. So, yeah.
Yeah. So COVID times, because everybody was back at home, they were not going to the gym, but they were wanting to exercise at home. You saw a big boom in growth. And then all of a sudden you had this huge customer base and weren't doing much with it. So you wanted to like leverage that data and automate it. That's sounding right, Mindy?
Correct. Yeah.
Cool. So once you implemented Customer.io, started using it, started building out your automations, what were some of those early wins once you first set up some of those onboarding campaigns?
Yeah, so one big one was the ability to self-serve, as I just mentioned prior. So with Customer.io, I could actually easily build out the workflows all in the one platform without developer or automation support, which was actually a big one because it's quite quick to just drag and drop, using those drag and drop features within the workflow. And I could select what message notification I would use. So either it's an email that I want to send, a push notification. It's all in one place under one workflow within Custom.io.
Awesome. So sounds like you're able to get up and running, spin up these campaigns without like relying on your engineers, which is something we hear a lot when it comes to folks like starting to use Customer.io, is being able to set up those initial automations and then decouple it so you don't have to run to your engineering team all the time. And onboarding campaigns really, really common, like first place to see some wins. But after those early accomplishments, were there any efforts to further optimize things and personalize your onboarding program using those workflows you'd started building out?
Absolutely. So as our base expanded and the Les Mills Plus app matured, it was clear that one size fits all approach wouldn't cut it with the whole batch and blast, etc. And so we began optimizing and personalizing those onboarding flows. What we would do is we would set up a survey when they first sign up or subscribe to the Les Mills Plus platform. And with that data, the survey gets plumbed directly into Custom.io. Using a webhook, we would then pull that data flow into Customer.io, and that's where we could start separating the types of movers that would come in. So for example, if they've suggested they are a light or a exerciser, so they only work out like once, or they're brand new to exercise, but they like to focus on cardio-based workouts. All those were captured in the survey, and those data feeds fall into Custom.io. And with that, we use that information to then separate and branch out into various personalized onboarding journeys.
Yeah.
So early exercises, they get that more guidance, more motivation. Those more heavy, like already know about exercise, they want to focus on like strength, etc. We would then guide them onto the workouts that feature strength and things like that. So that was a life changer for us within Custom.io to actually start branching and personalizing messages.
Awesome. Thanks, Mindy. Yeah, just to expand on that a little bit for everybody here, Mindy and I worked together for years. I work as their Customer.io rep to kind of help build some of these things. And this was a really cool early win they had, where I guess one of the things that I like to say is your messaging is kind of only as powerful as the data you have, especially when it comes to personalization of your customers. And when your business has been running for a while, you sometimes are limited by the different like where your data is and how things are set up. So in this case, Les Mills was trying to send personalized things with survey data, and you can always send that in and like store it on a profile, store it on an event, and send that to Customer.io. But in this case, they had like a separate database that they were storing their survey information in. And so they were kind of limited by that and needed to get that data out of the database. So they got creative with this webhook action. And in this screenshot, you can see it's like the second from the top action there. And what that is it's basically an API call to their external system. So they kind of turn lemons into lemonade here, where they were like, oh, we have these separate databases, separate pieces of tech that aren't connected, and we're going to use this workflow step to go grab that data right when we need it, because we don't have that in our tool already. So I thought that was very cool. Mindy, is that a good summary?
Yeah,
Anything you
thanks
want to
for
add there?
explaining it technically. I'm not really techie, so you're
Yeah.
great, and I love working with you. So it feels like when I'm talking with you, I'm like, I already know what you're saying, Slater.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Cool. So again, we're going to keep coming back to this through this webinar, this idea of like, okay, we're doing some workouts together as if we're at on the Les Mills app or at a Les Mills gym, but we're talking about marketing automation and not muscles. So next, let's do the strength training exercise and talk about Les Mills' more event-driven programs that they started building later on, in particular, their plans and challenges automations. Mindy, tell us a little bit more about that plans and challenges program. I guess I won't preface it too much more than that.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, we've got the onboarding sorted. You know, movers have joined, subscribed, they've had play, had a look around the workouts. What next? So another feature that we have on Les Mills Plus are the science-backed fitness plans. And they're actually curated by fitness scientists. So Dr. Ginger Gottschall, that we work closely with, and she helps us ensure that the prescribed plans are safe. It makes an impact, encourages that healthy fitness habit. So yeah, we have a variety of plans and challenges to choose from, just to mix it up. Examples are like our 4-week fast fit, which is popular for beginners. We have the stronger challenge. As I said, there's a high demand or preference for strength building, so we've created the stronger challenge. And then Pilates, yoga, that's hyping right now as well, or trending, I should say. And so we've got a getting started with Pilates plan, as Les Mills Pilates just dropped on platform as well. And we have, just a wide range of plans and challenges suitable for, to everyone's needs, hopefully.
Awesome. So with such a large suite of plans and challenges, can you tell us more about how you manage your customer engagement with all this disparate data floating around about different people's preferences and what plans they chose to be a part of at whatever given time?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, with plans and challenges, it's all great, you know, having the variety, but how we would deliver that to our movers was a bit of a challenge in itself. Our product team built the page with the understanding, I guess, at the first stage where we only had like 3 to 4 plans available. So a mover would sign up, select one of the plans. The data then gets sent into customer IO via user attributes only, and that started causing some limitations where we weren't able to understand who's signed up in that real-time aspect because of the attributes being sent. Weren't in real time. There were also a bit of a lack of data, so we weren't able to see the behavior, like were the movers actually following our workouts prescribed in those plans. And then there was some manual workarounds that we would have to build within customer IO itself to try capture once they've signed up to that plan, they've fallen into our workout flow. What happens? Did they end up stopping the plan? How would we tell that? So yeah, a lot of limitations because it was based on user attributes that were being sent.
Right.
And I guess the way we worked around that was through the help of Slater. You understood our pain points, what we were trying to achieve there. And then that's where you recommend that we actually send data via events. And that's something we haven't heard before because we were so used to being stuck into sending profile attributes. So yeah, we worked with our product team, rebuilt our plan sign up journey to ensure the right events were being passed through to Customer.io. And the crucial part was making sure that it was sent via real time. And now we have an automated campaign where it would trigger if someone performs that event. So when they first sign up to the plan, the event triggers straight away. It falls into our workflow, and we're able to send some guidance comms on, hey, congrats, you signed up to this plan. Here's your first workout, da 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 da. Hopefully that was not too much explanation, but I was just so excited about the events feature that we didn't even know about, and our product team got together to help us rebuild that journey for us.
Awesome. Thanks, Mindy. And to kind of like restate what you're saying here, and just to further like frame it, I know that you and I too can be very in the realm of like, we're used to working in Customer.io. We know what all these terms mean. So like, I think we mentioned this, but just to like really hammer the point home for folks, there are different like kinds of data that you can use in Customer.io that are specific to the tool. One is attributes, which you've heard us mention a lot. These are like flags on profiles. And then another type of data is what we call events, which are better suited to like repeatable actions, like product purchases or workouts. Whereas an attribute would be more like a profile flag, like their email address or their favorite color. This case was really interesting because what Les Mills was doing at the time was using like async bulk updates for profile attributes, but they were trying to force people in and out of different plans and challenges, and their end users could only be part of one of those at once. The timing got really tricky though, because they were trying to do like async flags. And if something delays when it's being synced in bulk, it might be pulled in or out of a campaign at the wrong time or be in two flows at once, which wasn't ideal. So we decided to move toward this other event-based sending and made sure that that was live sending and using events rather than attributes to be a little bit more surgical about those sending to force people in and out. And I really like this as sort of like a next step from your early onboarding plans as a topic, because it really represents when Les Mills started thinking about things at a deeper level of complexity than just the early days of like, okay, we're going to sync in these profile flags versus, oh, we have a more challenging campaign automation type. Let's leverage these different like data types in Customer.io to be more real time and intervene in customer journeys at the right moment. Okay, so we've done a little warm up when we were talking about onboarding. We've done some strength training, or we talked about Les Mills kind of upping their game, getting stronger in their automations by using live events. Next, let's talk about flexibility. And when I think about flexibility in the like MarTech automation world, I think about measuring stuff. Like you can A/B test, you can do all kinds of different things. Being flexible to try to make that engagement go up or make your messaging as engaging as possible to your end users. So Mindy, around this theme of flexibility and engagement, I remember historically that you were using offline reporting tools. I think like Power BI was one of them. But once you started tracking conversions within Customer.io, you're able to manage more of your reporting in one place, rather than splitting that reporting up across different tools in your tech stack. Might you be able to share a little bit more about that and what brought that on?
Yeah, although Power BI is a great reporting tool, we were lacking a bit in terms of our communicational engagement metrics. So our Power BI reporting was more or less tracking the way that the movers have their activity rate, because our fitness is all about encouraging and tracking mover activity. So we would have Power BI reports that would track like an average weekly workout, monthly active rates, etc. And those are great. But as I said, what we lacked was how does our messaging link to that active rate? So that's where we would look directly in customer IO itself. It already has some cool features that within the whole workflow, it's got an overview of how many comms you send. And with the additional events, when we started learning that you could pass events through into customer IO, we started passing through events such as have they started a workout? So when they click to start the workout, that created an event. When they've completed a workout, that also created an event. So with these events, we were able to create conversion goals. So within the workflow, if we send comms directly messaging a customer, our goal would be, have they done a workout based on these comms? So we would be able to track and see actually these movers are active by sending these comms. So that helped us grow our data insight a bit further. Yeah.
Awesome. And once you were measuring things more natively in Customer IO, did you discover any features you particularly liked when it came to organization or anything like that?
Feature-wise, so one that sticks out to me because I'm a big fan of filing, labeling, and storage. It's the little tag feature. So I would go in and tag either a campaign, basically a label, and that helped me search and analyze things better. So for example, we had a whole bunch of plans and challenges. I'd just tag them as plans. And then in the analysis tab in Customer IO, I'm able to search that tag and it would give me the list of campaigns. So I could compare each campaign itself. So yeah, having tags is actually quite amazing. It's not only just searching and analyzing campaigns, but you could do the same for your newsletter and broadcast as well. So yeah,
totally.
That's feature I can think of so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Derek, I also see you asking some questions about reporting outside of Customer IO. So I wanted to take a moment to touch on that in context of what like Mindy's talking about here. What Mindy was initially saying was that they had these external reporting tools where they were trying to pipe like opens, clicks, sends to Power BI, which is still a great way to do things like piping data out of Customer IO. And Derek, you were asking about sending things to Salesforce or Snowflake, which you can absolutely do. And I think Les Mills still sends data to Snowflake today, if I'm remembering correctly. At this time, when Mindy was moving off of Power BI, it was interesting because the Les Mills team was able to start sending conversion events to Customer IO. And those conversion events, usually like a common conversion event would be workout completed for Les Mills, right? Because they're trying to get their users to perform workouts. That made it so Mindy didn't really have to use those external tools and could track a conversion, say like somebody performed a workout within a day or within a week of receiving a message from this campaign. So you could tie a correlation between those opens, clicks, and then ultimately those conversions. So that makes it a lot easier for folks like Mindy who aren't on the technical side or the data analytics side to perform like A/B testing and optimization in the Customer IO tool without having to rely on those data teams. But having those conversions is also really powerful because you can still pipe those out to Derek, in your case, Salesforce or Snowflake, and use that in your analytics and combine all that with metrics that might be coming from other places in your tech stack in an external reporting tool like a Mixpanel and Amplitude are really common ones we see.
Yeah, correct. I think, yeah, to add on that, it's just missing that real-time aspect. If the data we see was in Power BI, Snowflake, and if we were running A/B test messaging directly in Custom IO, it's quite hard to sync the two together. Whereas if we've got direct events that are set up as a goal already, we're able to say, hey, look, this message performed better against this goal. We could then cater or adjust the messaging quite quick in the workflow itself, rather than jumping to, I guess, one dashboard to another to then respond. So that's where I'm trying to emphasize that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then because we have, as Shukuri mentioned, we have a small cozy group of people today. So I'm trying to get in the comments here and answer questions as they come. Reese had this question: do you ever use the Customer IO API directly to get reporting data to use in your internal tools, or do you just pipe it out of Snowflake, etc., and report externally? Mindy, interrupt me or correct me if I'm wrong, but I think most of the like aggregate external reporting that Les Mills does is like piping to Snowflake and then aggregating maybe with other tools in their tech stack if they want to like combine reporting there that maybe they don't need to pipe into Customer IO. You can use like GET requests if you want to pull data from Customer IO's app API. Brees, I think this is addressing your question about using the CIO app directly to get reporting data. So you can like grab data about particular campaigns, but I think generally when people are trying to report externally, it is going to be through like a data warehouse sync or syncing to a Snowflake table because it's a little less manual. You can just like pipe all that stuff out. It sends all the data rather than you having to like query the API all the time. But it's flexible. You can definitely do a lot of variations of different things between our APIs and data warehouses. Mindy, that was a bit of a ramble, but any...
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, Custom IO has the flexibility of setting API calls to then grab the data out as well as in. So that's an awesome feature that they have. What we would do though is we don't want data to be pulled from everywhere and every source, because it starts adding on to that tech debt. So what we try to do is be careful and have like a single source of truth that we would go to. So either where the data, if it is Snowflake or a data warehouse, that's a single source of truth, we would try and build like our product integrations directly into that, and then Custom IO pulls from that, or vice versa. So if Custom IO were to extract anything out, it would go into that data warehouse and things like that. So it's just trying to have one single source of truth of data. Otherwise, if you're pulling from Snowflake or Power BI or any other channels, it's going to get quite messy. And also with attributes, the naming conventions are quite different as well. So it's like you might have a different naming convention via Snowflake, and then in Custom IO there's a different naming convention, and that's two sets of data even though it's the same. So there's a lot of risks there that if you're pulling from different sources, it might end up building up that tech debt. So hopefully that helps, but that was my piece of advice.
Awesome. Alexia, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Looks like you had a question about sharing a little bit more about Les Mills' tech stack. I can speak to that a little bit, maybe, if that's okay, or just I'll do the limited version. So at least like from the part of the business that I touch in working with Mindy, primarily they're doing data in via a combination of using Segment CDP. So Segment is a really popular way to bring data into Customer IO. We're the top marketing automation destination for Segment this last year. So Segment for that live data, direct integration straight to customer IO via our reverse ETL integration for Snowflake. And then data out is primarily Snowflake as well, I believe. Other sources include just directly from their mobile app, because we have an SDK that plugs into the mobile app to handle push notifications and in-app messages in particular. Beyond that, I definitely know that Les Mills does have a broader tech stack. They have other data that's being fed into Segment, and they have other elements of the business that are maybe using different tools. Like, this is just speaking to the Les Mills Plus part of it. But I don't have as much visibility into that stuff. Mindy, is that a good summary? And is there anything key that I'm forgetting there?
Yeah, so I apologize. I'm not very technical in the product or data space. It's solely more in terms of like strategy for building messaging and things like that in the marketing area. Yeah. But from my understanding, there is a really good view in Custom IO where it sets out integration. So I've tried to learn with that. Rather than asking around all the products and the data support. So using the integration option, I was able to see, oh, okay, this data actually comes through into AWS and then to Segment. And it kind of has a really nice journey flow. So yeah, AWS is our main one that captures that subscription data. Segment then starts breaking that down or translating that to the attributes, the profile attributes. And then what else do we have? I think, yeah, so Snowflake we pull because I think Snowflake is connected to the Salesforce data. So we have things like they've completed X workouts, so the number of workouts. So it starts refining it a bit better as the Snowflake tech stack that we use. But yeah, we try to, again, simplify the amount that we use, at least for the Les Mills Plus database.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know too much about the whole Les Mills International because, again, that's a whole different branch there. So yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah. And then Alexia, you were also asking about mixed panel. I don't think Les Mills uses mixed panel or amplitude. You may be still using Power BI. I'm not certain.
Yeah, so we have tried mixed panel and amplitude for our apps. And again, we found those quite limiting. Even GA4, we're creating events into GA4 as well. So yeah, heaps of data sources, but again, it's crucial to look at just the database and what we have available in terms of subscription data and what we build in. So like that survey results and things like that. Try limit it so it's within AWS, within Segment, within Snowflake. Mixed panel is more just for app behavior, like how many, I guess, app opens and things like that, that we would also like to see, but again, you could create those as events as well. So it's just, trying to maybe, if you want to explore tools, feel free. There's many tools for analytics, but my learning based on all these tech debt that we have, it's more just like try limit yourself to what you can use and then build it in.
Cool. Thanks, Mindy. Since we're kind of getting deep into the weeds on like analytics and things, let's go and do our last workout, because I think it actually dovetails nicely into this conversation. So the last quote unquote workout question of the day before we get into more Q&A stuff is talking about Les Mills's propensity model. So in particular, when I think endurance in terms of like businesses, I think of tracking ROI in particular, because a company only endures if it's able to, get an ROI and make money over time. So in my mind, like Les Mills's crowning achievement in messaging automation was kind of late last year. It came to fruition, this churn score propensity model that the team put together, which was super, super cool. Mindy, could you tell us a little bit more about that like advanced campaign you ended up building out?
Yes. So, like every life cycle strategy, we need a formula to retain our movers. And then on top of that, post-COVID appetites saw higher demands of people moving back into the gyms and person workouts. And that's great for us, but we also wanted to see or hone down on the app benefits. They supplement workouts, right? That you can't really get at the gym or vice versa based on time and things like that. So yeah, we still want to keep movers on our app. And we wanted to identify who these people could be. As I said, we want to stay clear from like batch and blasting. So we worked with our data engineering team, and they created what's called like a predictive churn model using AI. And then that data kind of tags a mover who's at risk of churning based on various like attributes, like how or behavior, sorry, how long they've subscribed with us, they've stopped doing workouts or aren't as active. So yeah, many kind of layers into that data model, and then what that does, it will tag these movers as higher risk versus lower risk. And then what we would do then is build the full scale like workflow within Customo that uses that churn data. And then we start targeting those people that are higher risk, for example, with some harder like messaging, some offers, etc. So for example, if a mover is on a monthly subscription, we will try and send them an offer to go on to annual for a discount, etc. So yeah, heaps of ways where we could message, but using that predictive churn model to identify who those movers are.
Awesome. Yeah, this whole program was super interesting, and part of the reason why I thought it would be good to like wrap with this conversation is it kind of combines some of, well, really all of the things that we talked about in the first three workouts, if you will. This idea of like sending in async data. So the Les Mills team built a machine learning model that scored their customers based on likelihood to churn, and then pipe that in on attributes like async, but then was able to intervene live right in the moment at key moments. So maybe like X amount of days before somebody was going to renew their app, they would send a push notification or an in-app message or an email with an offer to see if they could save those customers. And it was super successful and really interesting. And also, I guess to tie this back into the reporting, they would then report that information back out to Segment based on those conversions that they were tracking in Customer IO. Yeah, and it was really neat. In fact, the team got runner-up for a New Zealand National Marketing Award for that, which was really cool to see after all these years of work together.
Yeah. There was some stats that came from that I should mention, because those are really cool stats. So within like 2 months of that churn model going live, we actually retained 53% of our movers that were predicted to churn. And as mentioned earlier, we were able to convert 80% of those at-risk movers to annual subscriptions. And if we look at in comparison with like ad spends and things like that, we would have saved like hundreds and thousands of dollars in that cost of acquisition. So yeah, the churn model was actually a really cool project to work on with you as well, Slater. So thanks for attending our marketing awards.
Yeah.
At that night as well. It was really enjoyable. We should do more of that.
Yeah, totally. The Les Mills team was kind enough to invite me up to Auckland. I should note also that despite my very North American accent for folks who don't know. I am based in Wellington, so that was a really, really fun chance to connect in person after all this time working together. So I think now as our quote unquote cool down, let's maybe enter into a FAQ based on some of the questions in the chat here. Let's maybe start with some of these around the churn model, because that's what we were just talking about. Reese, I'll answer yours first, because I think that I can answer that pretty straightforward. So when we're talking about predicted movers, I want to clarify that when Mindy's using the term movers, she means like that's Les Mills's term for folks who do workouts. They're customers, basically, because they want to keep them moving. But just wanted to clarify that I can understand how that would be confusing if we're talking about churn risks, right? So movers are not churn risks. They're movers where they're like customers. The way they score churn risks was through a machine learning model that their team built. It was like a Python algorithm, and I'm unsure about like what all of the factors that went in to make those churn prediction scores. But what they would do is they would amalgamate this data to score profiles and then pipe that into customer IO on a profile attribute. So it would be like high risk equals true, something along those lines. And then they would segment them. So your question was, are you creating multiple segments from a list? So this machine learning model would dynamically score folks, and then we would pair that with their behavioral data of like an upcoming event. If like somebody was going to renew and they had to score a risk equals true, and it was 10 days or something from the renewal date, and they would send them a message. So those kinds of things. So Reese, sorry, we don't have more data about all of the things that went into that machine learning model. We unfortunately don't have the engineer on the call today who built that, but that gives you some insight into how that worked. Mindy, am I summarizing that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I apologize. I mean, I don't have the full details of what the data engineers built into that model, but the main like obvious ones would be based on their subscription data, their behavioral data, and then just overall grouping them. So likely, monthly users are falling into this group because they've seen monthlies, I guess, churning at this rate. So yeah, it's a model itself, and it's quite hard to explain for someone that's not technical. But I'm just like, okay, just tell me whether it's a true false flag, and who I target is the crucial part that I need to then start sending the comms. So whether they're on platform and they're looking in their My Accounts page, we then surface a banner or a pop-up that gives them this promotion.
And also worth calling out too, I don't know if we said this explicitly, one of the cool parts of this program is that was what we call like an omni-channel messaging program. So it wasn't just email, it was email and push and in-app messages. So using email and push to get people from outside of the app into the app and engaging more, and using in-app messaging to like once somebody logs in to drive them exactly to the action within the app that you want folks to take. So that was pretty cool. Murray, I want to take a moment to just acknowledge your question about whether there were any surprising indicators of churn. Like Mindy said, we unfortunately don't have more context around like the things that went into that necessarily the scoring model. But I hope that those answers we gave at least give some context. Keenan, I was seeing. Go ahead.
To add to that, Slater, I think what we did do was hold a cohort group, right? So one, they would run through the model, but then two, there would be a cohort branch. So those that we don't target, were they likely to churn? So we were able to see that kind of comparison at least. Is that, by us at least messaging and targeting, they're more likely to stay with us versus if you've left them alone and didn't message them with anything. So maybe that could be one of the factors that help.
Yeah,
but
totally.
No major like indicator of why people were churning. We do have a survey again, a cancellation survey. So a lot of that was identified being that the economy isn't really good at the moment. So the people are trying to save, and those we can't really like do too much about to stop that. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's actually a great call out because I had forgotten that we did holdout testing as part of that. So for those who may not know on the call, holdout testing is this idea of you have a small cohort of folks that you just randomly decide, okay, well, this 10% we're not going to send messages to at all, but then still measure conversions against that. So you can validate that your messaging is actually working versus not sending anything, which is like one of the more powerful things you can do once you start tracking conversions. So next question here, Keenan, I wanted to make sure I covered this because you asked it a while ago and you've been waiting patiently. So you'd asked with the CIO broadcast feature, is it possible to use workflows? It's not. So the workflows in Customer IO are the multi-step automations. You can kind of hack it to work like a broadcast. You can like send a batch newsletter, if you will, and then just like time gate it so it turns off immediately. And then the other question you asked was about deduping leads. So it is possible in newsletters to dedupe based on email, not on phone number yet. That's something I'd hope to see sometime in the future. Either way, though, with leads, we recommend bringing those onto profiles and using email as their identifier. You can use an ID or email or both for profiles. With leads, as long as you're using email as the key, you can prevent the creation of duplicate profiles in the first place. Okay, so quickly answered that. Let's see, what other questions did we have? Oh, Mindy, this is a good question. Any insight into messaging channels that work particularly well for your churn indicators? So, did you find that like one flow was working better than another? Email, push, in-app?
Yeah, great question. So we have a range of channels, as Slater mentioned, email, in-app, and push. Within the app insights, though, it was actually quite hard to see click-throughs, etc. So we purely looked at conversion goal. And yeah, as I mentioned, where we feature a banner or an app pop-up where people are already on platform, those tend to be performing well. And I guess the customer behavior is that, people are on their account, they're deciding that they actually want to cancel. And if we're featuring that banner at that right time to that predictive churn group, then yeah, that's I find performed much better in terms of an app kind of banner or pop-up versus email where they would look at in their own time, etc. So
yeah, and I always think of these things in terms of like, maybe funnel isn't necessarily the right term, because usually with funnel you're thinking about like top of funnel leads and then like down to converted users, down to purchasers. But like I also think of it in terms of like a funnel a little bit when we're thinking about messaging channels. And sort of like I mentioned earlier, you have those emails, those push notifications, you're trying to get people from the outside of the app into the app. And then I guess instead of thinking about a funnel, we can think about experience, like deeper into the experience. If somebody's in your app and already engaging, they're probably more likely to engage with whatever message you send them. And that's the really cool thing about those in-app messages, is once they're there, they're more likely to engage with it because they're already bought in and using the app. Aaron, to answer your question over here, you had asked, what has been something that has pleasantly surprised you about optimizing workflows with Customer IO? Mindy?
Something that has pleasantly surprised you about optimizing workflows? I reckon with Customer IO, it's always growing and they're always developing new features. So it's always surprising to me what new features that they come up with. So when I mention in-apps, like prior, when there was that whole COVID and we just adopted Customer IO, they actually didn't have in-app notifications. And then so when they started building these features, we started learning with them, and we started testing with them. So yeah, custom IO is always a surprise at the moment for me. And it's great because it's a learning, right? So at the moment, I think they're doing an AI built like segment tool as well, and I was actually quite lucky to try test that. Yeah, so yeah, it's always great features there. That I would say, not one I could really specifically. It's just the fact that they're always building new features.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, and it's always, I mean, me as a customer success manager, it's always fun to have that role of like gathering feedback and having input with the product team and working closely with folks like Mindy. I get to inform the things that we build over time and have the opportunity to bring her in on those conversations, which is always great. Reese, you asked a question that I want to acknowledge. Just a quick feature question. Do you use the Customer built-in subscription center? Mindy, are you using the subscription center? I don't think you are at this time.
No, yeah. So yeah, as I said, I'm trying to like limit the data sources. So we're solely just using mainly the data feeds that come in, and then we extract. So yeah, not so much the subscription center. I think we did ask you about that later because that's where our preference center work we wanted to pipe through, but. It didn't suit us just because the Les Mills database is in Custom IO, but then we have other databases as well. So yeah, we had to look at a preference center that was suitable for the whole of like Les Mills International rather than just specific to Custom IO. But yeah.
So with to contextualize that more, Reese, we've had some conversations with the Les Mills team about potentially using it, and then just using that for the customer IO based sending, and then connecting that to the other database or the other preference center tool that they're using for the rest of their like brands and tech stacks and departments and all this stuff. And I think for now, the team just decided to continue using like global opt-outs rather than having different subscription preferences. But there's a possibility that they'll end up using it and pairing the two together. Just haven't moved forward with it yet.
Yeah, and the global opt-out in Custom IO works really well for us because Custom IO already manages the whole like requirements for like Gmail where it needs a subscription header, and so forth. So yeah, need to mention that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's
an external one. You have to build and code all those in as well. So
yeah, that's a great note of caution. If anyone on this call is thinking about using a custom subscription center that they built themselves in Custom IO or any other tool, be very cautious because there are some deliverability requirements you'll need to code into that. Cool. I think we've covered most of the questions here. It looks like Keenan is typing, so we'll just let them.
Nice to meet you all.
Is there a plan to build in a dashboard monitor to work in workflow errors? Currently can only be checked. Yeah, Keenan, unfortunately, I don't have insight into that. That's a somewhat common feature request that I'm always advocating for more like reporting stuff internally. But it's not something that's on the short-term roadmap that I'm aware of. But we are one sort of related feature is, and this isn't like a workflow related one, but we did release a deliverability dashboard that you can see in the analytics tab. If you go up to those top tabs on the analytics page, you can check deliverability and you can see deliverability health across different inbox providers like Gmail versus Yahoo versus Outlook. Not exactly what you're talking about, but that is the kind of thing we're trying to build more of, sort of along the line of what you're talking about with workflow errors. So good to know it's something you're interested in. And I always make sure to ping the product team whenever we get interest in those kinds of features. Cool. Awesome. I think we've covered all the questions. I guess we have like 1 minute until 11. Oh, Aaron, I thought you were asking a question, but you're just saying thank you. Thank you, Aaron. I think this is probably a good place to wrap things up. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, spending your time with us on your Tuesday. Mindy, and thank you. I mean, this has been really cool to reflect on, and very generous of you to share your journey with everybody. And it's definitely like I see the growth of Les Mills and what you've been doing over the years. As kind of like a masterclass in how to use customer IO and leverage it to its maximum potential.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Slater, and thank you to the chat for being so engaging. So hopefully it was helpful. But yeah, thanks for having me. It's been awesome. Oh, one of the hot takes I would say just came to mind is don't be afraid to start building a workflow. When I first started, I was quite afraid to hit the start workflow. But don't be afraid, target it to yourself perhaps, drop in one message at a time because you can always come back and refine it. So have a play.
Cool. I love that. Thanks, Mindy. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Really appreciate your time, and wherever you are, I hope the weather's nice in this spring in the Southern Hemisphere. And thanks, everybody. We'll wrap it up here.
Thanks.